cheek's all hot. I just blow dried my hair. Apparently I blow dried my cheek too. I don't know what that was about. So y'all want to talk about eyeshadow creasing and lasting and eyeshadow bases, and we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get deep into it, but I am gonna have to toot my own horn a little bit about the brushes during this. Okay, I am, because fiber even matters. But there's so many other reasons, but I just want to warn you, you're going to hear about the brushes. So if you're tired of me talking about the brushes, I'm sorry, but they are different. But we're not there yet. There's going to be a lot going on. Let's do this. I've knocked over my mirror. Hang on. So I'm already going to tell y'all, eyeshadow base is going to be different than just using concealer. I've tried just using concealer, and concealer, if it's not set, and that's why, okay, this is so important. Ooh, I love makeup. So when we go to set our under eye, or we usually set any part of our face, you'll notice I use a puff. I'm setting all of that all at once in one swift motion. Now with the layers of eyeshadow that I do, eyeshadow base and eyeshadow, you're wanting to set in small increments so you can blend it. And that's why we use the side of the brush. I'm going to demonstrate it. It's going to be a visual, but I'm not setting this all at once. So eyeshadow base is different than concealer because we're not setting it all at once. Ooh, that makes sense. Now let's go ahead and start. I actually recommend this for everyone, mature, oily eyelids, but let's talk about prepping this eye area. For me, I do have my eye cream on. I have my entire skincare on, all of that. I will say, if you have mature lids or dry lids, I recommend this. If you're oily, I recommend this underneath here, but if you're oily, you can skip this on the lid. This is the Elemis eye treatment. I'm gonna put a little bit on. Hopefully I have an eye treatment brush. I might need to go grab one. Actually, I'll just use one of mine for right now. It's soft enough. So I'm just gonna scoop some out here, and then I'll just apply it there, and then I'm just gonna tap it on. And for this eye, I'm gonna show you for oily as well. But if you have mature or dry lids, 10 out of 10 recommend this. I've been using it for so long now. Now, if you have extremely oily eyelids, what I want you to do is just take the back of your finger, and I want you to just kind of tap away any excess, because even as we're sitting here, my eye cream might be warming up. It might have built up through here, and we don't realize that we need that eye cream. I don't care how oily you are, you're gonna need that eye cream, not this one, but the one that you use every single day. But sometimes that can build up here in the crease. It just does because of our body heat. So just kind of tap that away very gently. Just tap it. Okay, nice. Okay. There's still more. That's not all. But I will say that even on me, sometimes it'll build up in here. And I use the tiniest amount, but it just happens. So this is something that I recommend only for the oiliest, absolute oiliest of eyelids. I'm gonna grab just a powder, any powder, just a loose powder. Just make sure it's loose. Take the tiniest amount on a fluffy brush. We're just gonna grab it here from the lid. It can be any powder, doesn't matter. And what is this? I'm out of control. So I'm just gonna take that, and I'm just gonna lightly tap this across the entire lid space. And this is kind of like my tip where I talk about putting powder on your brows before you apply anything. So just that tiny amount. And we don't want to make it to where it just feels super, super dry, because then our eyeshadow could even get patchy later. But we just kind of want to give it a little bit of insurance. That way we know that it's not going to be oily later. And a lot of times that oil that we think is oil, it can honestly, it could be your skincare products. A lot of times we don't realize that, and then we think we're oily, but you could even scale back your eye cream a little bit, or whatever you apply here to your lid space. Just scale that back just a hair. I know that we think more is better when it comes to skincare. I used to think that too, but sometimes if we just scale it back just a little bit, our makeup wears completely different. It changes so much. So just try scaling back on that, and then try this powder trick just like we do on our brows, but we're still going to reach for a creamy eyeshadow base. Even if you're oily, I know you're scared. You're thinking, well, I've tried a tacky eyeshadow base. It didn't work. let me show you the technique that goes with it, because there is a touch of technique that goes into this. We can't just use any brush to put it on. We can't just use our finger. We need a short, dense brush. Now, this is tried and true. I have never had issues with it, but it's really important to see that I'm picking up the product from the side, okay? I didn't dip in here. I didn't absolutely coat my brush. And again, short and dense means we're gonna have more control. And it also means that we're gonna get the most coverage. And it also means it's going to go on very evenly. And I talk about this all the time. The more even your makeup is, no matter what it is, the more even and thin that layer is, the longer it's going to last. Now, I also want you to notice that I have not swiped back and forth. That will not be an even application. I'm going to tap and continue to work this upwards towards my brow bone until it's completely even. Okay, so I didn't do anything else. Do you see this? That's still going to be a little too thick across the lid. Have y'all ever watched the Great British Baking Show? And they talk about the pie crust. It has to be just right. That's how eyeshadow base is. All eyeshadow base, not even just this one. I don't want you to think that this one's complicated. Even if I was to use an eyeshadow base that is barely there, that's actually going to be a little bit harder, because then we can't see how even it is across that lid space. Also, this one's incredibly smoothing. Let's just keep pushing that up through here, push it into the brow, and look at how completely even that is now across this lid space. That ain't going nowhere. I gotta talk about the brush for a second. I designed this brush with this in mind, with completely smooth, even layers, because again, makeup that lasts and makeup that goes on very smoothly is all about that first smooth layer and it being completely even. Foundation needs to be completely even, and the density of the bristles, the shape, everything about this is going to get your eyeshadow base, no matter what eyeshadow base it is, it's going to get it even. And that's why our eyeshadow doesn't last sometimes. This is the main culprit. I'm going to go into more reasons, but this is the main culprit why your eyeshadow is creasing, why it's not lasting, why it's patching, and this brush was designed with that in mind. And just like with everything, start with small amounts of your eyeshadow base and build it up. I talk about that a lot because it's so much easier to build something up than it is to take it away once it's on. Like right now, I need a little bit more of the base, so I'm gonna grab it again from the side here. And then that's going to be plenty. That way, once it got to my brow bone, I didn't have to go, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do with all of this base? Just keep working it in. I know I might be repetitive, but these are things that I needed repeated to me when I was in a different place in my makeup journey. So if I'm repetitive, I apologize, but that's the way that I needed to be told. Even layers. All right, so the next thing you're gonna ask is, Rose, why are we not setting that eyeshadow base? We don't wanna set it because we wanna work in sections. We wanna set with the actual eyeshadow. It's gonna last longer, it's gonna be more pigmented, you're gonna have more control, believe it or not. If I just go ahead and set this, it might patch up here. And again, this is completely normal. I talk about that every single day. It is going to move until you set it. Just keep your brush close by and tap it out. But we don't want to set it because then you're just not going to get that intensity and you won't have the control. Let me show you. So you do see me do quite a few techniques. Sometimes I'll start with the darkest color. That's really for cut creases. But if I'm just doing a classic, we'll call it a classic glam eye, which is what we're about to do. In fact, we're going to do that look that y'all love so much in my last post. Let's do that. We're going to use this palette here. And I'm actually going to start with this shade. So I like to start with my first transition. You're going to see it there on the side of the brush. And you'll notice that I didn't tap. I talked about that yesterday. I went in and I knew exactly how much I wanted to pick up. So again, let's make sure that this is nice and smooth. That's the key, because just like our concealer, we don't want to set any creases. So I don't need precision. If I needed precision, I would face this product towards the ceiling, but I don't need that today. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to start to. So I haven't done anything since the last slide. I'm really trying to make sure that you're learning. I want you to notice that I'm using the side of the brush. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to cover more real estate in a sense. And I'm going to be able to really smooth this out. We're going to grab more of that color, but I'm starting to set this area now. Grabbing one more. It's really important for you to see. I'm going to just grab one swipe of it. You'll see it there. And we'll just layer on top of that. And from doing these layers, even with one shade, I'm able to get another transition out of just one color. And look at how smooth that is. Every single time. You'll find yourself reaching for eyeshadow palettes that you didn't love if you use this technique. I promise you. It never lets me down. Now, I do want to talk about the bristles. A lot of times we have brushes and they're wonderful brushes. And I get so afraid that y'all are going to think I'm putting down other brushes. I mean, if you've been here a while, you know that I do not talk negatively about anything. I just don't use it. If I don't love it, I just don't use it. My heart is always, it's in the right place, I promise. But bristles are so important. These are so soft that you have control, but even if I do some light circular motions, the bristles are so soft that they're not going to lift that base. They're not going to lift that eyeshadow that we have on there. And I just can't stress that enough. I can't stress how important the bristles are to application and blending. It's so important. Okay, I think I've stressed it enough. So from this technique of that base and tapping, we have a 2-for-1 special, as I like to say. It looks like we have 2 eyeshadow colors on when we only have one. And had we set with loose powder or translucent powder, we would not be able to get this effect. It just doesn't work that way. I've tried. So once you master this and just really focus how much of that eyeshadow you're picking up on your brush and then just press it across, it's even faster. It's so much faster, and then we don't have those mess ups. Now, I'm going to start to darken up the crease a little bit more. I'm going to grab this shade. I don't really know where to go from here. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. This one looks a little bit darker. I have this now on the tip of the brush, and I'm just going to tilt my head back. Here we go. And just start to deepen up the socket a little bit. And I'm not doing anything in between, just to make sure that you're getting the full effect. In between the slides, I should say. So I'm still pressing that through the socket. And you can still tap with the tip of the brush. Then we have just that little bit of definition there that you can see. Look how nice that looks. When we relax our eye, just that little bit. I love makeup. This is the information I craved. I absolutely craved it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I never could have afforded to pay for master classes. So I don't know everything, and I will never know everything. But what I know, I will tell you for free. So let's grab this warmer shade here. This should warm up our crease. I have it on the tip of the brush. Again, if you wanted to switch gears, that was a little bit cool tone. If you wanted to switch gears, you can with this technique, and you're seeing that right now. So let's just press that in. Then I'm gonna wipe my brush on Sheila. There's Sheila. And again, the fibers, you can always just switch back and forth because they don't absorb product. Now I'm using the side of the brush just to continue to smooth and blend. I think I had it a little bit darker. Let me go double check that before I start adding things that aren't there. Still using the side of the brush. Okay, I did have it just a little bit darker, so let's grab this shade and we're gonna darken it up. Let me finish this side too. It's gonna look messy because I still have to go back in and tap it with the side. but I can't stress enough how much more you're going to get out of your eyeshadows when you use this technique. And you can just, like I said, go back and, again, you can go back and salvage all the palettes that you thought that you didn't love. Because I was doing this technique when that subculture, remember the ABH subculture, when that came out? And I didn't have a problem with it. And because everybody else did, I thought, well, maybe I got a good one and I don't even want to talk about it. I feel terrible. But technique really, really matters. I will say with swiping, again, y'all know how afraid I am that I'm going to hurt someone's feelings or have y'all think that I'm talking badly about another artist. Absolutely not. This is just what works for me, and it might be working for you and it could help you. So a lot of times with the swiping, I have to explain what overblending is. So if your shadow is becoming patchy or just kind of buffing away or honestly disappearing, swiping can lead to overblending quicker. There are so many talented artists that understand exactly where to hold this brush, exactly how much pressure to use when swiping, but I didn't at one time. So that's why swiping didn't always work for me. I didn't understand how to hold this brush. I didn't understand exactly how much pressure to use. So the tapping kind of takes the guessing away. So can I do an entire eye look by swiping? Absolutely. I absolutely can where I'm at in my makeup journey. But I try to teach techniques that are easier, something that everyone can do, something that you can do quickly, and something you can even build on. If you find yourself swiping and it is working beautifully, you might have mastered how to hold it, how much pressure. But the tapping doesn't take that much effort. You can really figure it out quickly with the tapping. Like I said, I can swipe, but I will say the swiping that I do isn't like this. It's not. It's still holding this brush very far back, so you have the control and the lighter pressure, and then it's almost small circular motions with a couple drags. See, it's circular motions and then I'm dragging. But if you're not here yet, so in that last video, I actually have white eyeshadow on my lid, but we're gonna need a little bit more of that base just to kind of clean up the lid a little bit. That's gonna be enough for both. And I didn't do a cut crease, so don't worry about making this precise, but we do need that tacky base for our white eyeshadow to have something to kind of grab onto, and it's gonna make it pop more. Just make sure that this is nice and even. That's what we're talking about now, is that evenness. And by even, we just gotta make sure it's all the same layer across the entire lid. Take it over here some. That should be good. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it just needs to be even. And by perfect, it doesn't need to be that perfect cut crease. It just needs to be even. Now, we're gonna use an E28 because we're not using a shimmer. I'm actually gonna use this color. This is the color that's on my lid there from this palette. A lot of it, a lot. And we just want to go in here and start to pack this all over our lid. Make sure it's nice and even. And that's all I did for that eye look. We can take whatever's left and put it on the brow bone. Look how pretty that looks. I'm turning to the side because my brush will fit on my lid space better through here. And then we'll come back and finish that. There it is. All of this pressing has ensured that all of that base is nice and set. You won't have creasing. You absolutely will not. If everything's really nice and even, and then all of that shadow has been pressed in. No matter your skin type, this is gonna work. Cleaning that up. Oh, that's smooth. Bonus round. So you have hooded eyes. I actually have videos on eyeshadow for hooded eyes before we go into this next step that I'm going to show you. After this, if you want to go browse my saved highlights, I use this brush a lot for smaller eyes or hooded eyes, the E27. I'm going to link this brush, and then check my saved highlights if you want to see more tutorials with it. So yeah, now on to the next. So let's talk wings. Some of y'all probably already do this, but I talk to a lot of people and they'll see my wings and they go, I can't do wings. I just can't figure it out. I gave up. And then I will say, this is what I'll ask them. Do you map your wing out with eyeshadow first? Brown eyeshadow? And they go, why did I not think of it? I'll tell you why you didn't think of it, because you didn't sit here for hours being terrible at makeup like me. I'm out of control. I love makeup so much, and I love helping you with makeup, because makeup, it can, even though it's just makeup, it's more than that. It can do so much for your day. Just sitting here, and it's our art. Think of it as an art project. If we think of it that way and we take the vanity out of it, it's incredible. And that's how I look at makeup. So E26, I know, bent brush, blah, blah, blah. Remember, these fibers built different. It's so good. So take a matte brown eyeshadow. We want matte because remember, we don't want to have to cover up any kind of shimmer that much. And even if you use the smallest amount. So by now where I'm at, you see that I was turning my head. That doesn't work for everyone. So what I want you to do is look completely straight ahead into your mirror. I'm looking into my phone, but look straight ahead into your mirror. Completely relax your eyes. Don't look this way. Don't look this way. Right here. We're going to start where the eye separates. If you have hooded eyes, it's actually going to be easier to start from underneath here. But this eye is actually a little bit more hooded. So I'm picking up more of the brown because I just used some underneath there. Relax and just dot. I feel like we don't realize that we have more control even when we press. Dragging, even with this powder, can sometimes, let me show you over here, it can sometimes pull. See that? That's already going to be a mess up because I'm going to have skipping. No matter what, I don't care. But we don't realize that if we take the tip of this brush and we press it, we're going to go over all of those folds. Mind blowing. Now go do a wing. And then once you have this, you could just do it with the brown eyeshadow, or you can trace over it. Because once it's placed, here we can pull because it's going to be, unless you have looser skin here, then tap. But if you want to pull here, it's going to be a little bit easier. It's when we get into these folds that we need to press, and then we're going to connect it. You might have to pick up the eyeshadow a few times because this is a little brush and it's not going to hold a ton of product. But you're going to have way more control this way. Cool, right? I hope this helps. I really hope this helps. Now I'm gonna draw a maniacal wing because that wing I have in that video is maniacal. So I'm gonna show you, but this isn't gonna be a teaching moment. This is kind of gonna be a showing off moment. All right, y'all ready? It was a really big wing in that video, but remember, don't feel like you need to be where I'm at. I sometimes do my makeup 4 times a day. So where I'm at now in my makeup journey, I can do this blindfolded. So I just want to remind you that I have an entire, oh Lord, I can't even see it. There we go. I have an entire lash tutorial on my saved highlights. Don't miss that. Now we're almost done here, but we're going to switch to a fluffy brush. And the reason we're going to use fluffy is you don't get as much coverage. Remember, the denser the brush, the more coverage, the fluffier, the less coverage. So I'm going to take a whisper. Look at that. That is truly a whisper of foundation. That's the foundation that I would be using. And we're going to grab it here on our E. It'll be okay. You can see that it's a little uneven. It's going to be okay because it's such a small amount. So we're using this on the E29. I'm going to tap it through here. And I'm focusing most of that product. You can see that it's already perfectly even now on the brush. The brushes just don't absorb the product. And I'm going to take that and I'm just going to blend it into the eyeshadow. And this will blend everything together even more. And I'm tapping, I know. Look at how smooth that is now. Ooh, that's smooth. We don't want to swipe back and forth because we might disturb all that hard work that we did. So that's going to be it for today. This was so in-depth. I'll do a full tutorial tomorrow. I really felt that we needed to talk about this. We needed to sit down and have a little eyeshadow blending chat because I was getting a lot of DMs about people struggling with their eyeshadow and even their eyes starting to water. Again, I'm sorry. That's about the bristles. These bristles are so soft. That DM that's at the beginning of this kind of tells you everything. Sometimes this is such a sensitive area, especially through here. And when you feel that kind of prickliness, it's going to activate your eyes. They're going to water. It's going to start to kind of separate into here. You'll notice that I never have any separation here. I never have the tears. It never bleeds through here. And that's because of these brushes that I was using for quite a few years before they were for sale. Okay, I'm done. I love y'all so much. I love that we can connect and bond. It is bonding. I feel like we are truly friends, and we get to do that over makeup. It wows me every single day that I get to get on here and I read these DMs and these messages and how much I'm able to help. Even though it is just makeup, it's still a bright spot in our days. I love y'all so much. I have no idea what I'm posting tonight, but I hope that I see you in the comments there. Love you. Love you, love you, love you.